A single father sat in a blind date he never wanted. Not today, not this week, not in this lifetime. Daniel Hayes had survived grief, bills, loneliness, and a kind of quiet that felt like it had edges. But this, being forced into a blind date by his well-meaning but meddling sister, felt like cruelty in a new shape. The restaurant was too warm, too bright, too full of laughter he didn't feel part of. Tables clinked with wine glasses and soft music curled through the air like smoke. He adjusted the collar of his shirt for the 5th time, wishing he were anywhere but here, preferably home, reading his 6-year-old son Liam a bedtime story. He checked his phone again. No message. No excuse to leave. His sister had already threatened to drag him back to life by his pathetic hair. So there was no escape. He exhaled, long and slow, and forced himself to look up, and his heart didn't stop. It detonated. Across the room, a woman stood waiting for the host to guide her. She glanced around the restaurant, her eyes searching for someone. Those eyes, those gentle, steady, warm brown eyes. Her hair fell the same way. Dark waves brushing her shoulders, the same soft curl near the ends. She had the same posture, the same way of tucking a strand behind her ear. Even the tiny dimple on her left cheek appeared when she gave the host a polite, nervous smile. Daniel's breath tore out of him. This woman, this stranger, she had the face of his dead wife. Elena, the only woman he had ever loved. The woman he buried 3 years ago on a cold February morning. The woman whose last word had been his name. Daniel blinked hard, once, twice, as if that would rearrange the world back into something that made sense. But she didn't disappear. She didn't blur. She didn't become someone else. She stood there, alive and impossibly real, looking exactly like Elena should have looked today if she had survived. His vision wavered. A wave of memory slammed him without mercy. Elena laughing in their tiny kitchen. Elena kissing his cheek goodnight. Elena holding newborn Liam with tears in her eyes. He could almost hear her voice again. No, not almost. He heard it in his mind, so clearly it hurt. His chair scraped against the floor as he stood too quickly. The host noticed and pointed toward Daniel's table. The woman turned, and her eyes met his for the first time. Whatever strength Daniel had left evaporated. His knees nearly gave out, because in that second, he knew it wasn't her. It couldn't be. Elena was gone, buried, mourned, lost. This woman was someone else. Someone breathing. Someone with a life that didn't include him. But the resemblance was so precise that he felt the universe was playing a cruel trick. She approached slowly, hesitantly, as if sensing his shock. "Hi," she said softly. "You must be Daniel." Her voice wasn't Elena's, lighter, a little breathier, but hearing was like being punched and comforted at the same time. He forced himself to respond. "Yes. And you're?" "Marie." She smiled shyly. The dimple appeared. He flinched. "I'm really sorry I'm late. Traffic was. Are you okay?" He wasn't. He absolutely wasn't. But he nodded anyway. Because what else could he do? Tell her she looked like a ghost? "Yeah," he whispered, just surprised. She sat across from him, folding her hands neatly in her lap. She wasn't wearing heavy makeup, nothing dramatic, just a soft, natural look Elena used to prefer. She wore a simple white blouse and jeans. Even her jewelry was similar. Small gold studs and a thin chain necklace identical to the one Elena wore the day they met. "Stop." He had to stop comparing her. Marie glanced around, nervous. "Your sister spoke very highly of you. She said you're a wonderful father." The words hit him in a softer place. "Liam is my whole world," Daniel said quietly. "Everything I do is for him." Marie's expression warmed instantly. "I love kids. I actually volunteer at a children's center 3 times a week." Of course she did. Elena volunteered at a literacy clinic. This was too much. He leaned back, trying to get a breath past a knot in his chest. Marie noticed. "If I'm making you uncomfortable, we don't have to." "No," he interrupted quickly, too quickly. "You're fine. I just wasn't expecting." "You." Her face. This war inside him. He swallowed the words. To distract himself, he asked the most generic question he could think of. "So what do you do for work?" Oh, I'm a forensic artist, she said. I specialize in reconstructing faces from witness memory. It's probably why your sister thought I'd be interesting to talk to. Daniel stared at her. A woman who rebuilt faces resembling his dead wife for a living? The irony wasn't lost on him. That's unique, he said. Unique is a polite way to put it, she laughed. The sound wasn't Elena's, and that helped. A little. Their drinks arrived. Marie ordered chamomile tea, Elena's favorite. Daniel nearly spilled his water. So how long have you been a single dad? She asked gently. He exhaled, tracing a finger along the rim of his glass. About 3 years. I'm sorry, she whispered. Your sister told me a little. He nodded. Elena was sick. It happened fast. Marie's eyes softened with genuine empathy. She must have been amazing, the way your sister speaks about her. She was, he said simply. She really was. A moment of silence stretched between them, gentle, respectful. Then Marie spoke carefully, as if trying not to step on something fragile. Daniel, I can't imagine how hard this must be for you. Being here, trying again. He blinked, surprised by the sincerity in her voice. She continued, voice steady but tender. If tonight is just about talking, just two people sharing a table, no expectations, I'm okay with that. His chest loosened a little. Thank you, he whispered. Marie's smile was soft and real. Not Elena's smile, not a ghost echo, but hers. And for the first time since she walked in, Daniel felt himself breathe. The date didn't magically transform. He didn't fall in love or break down sobbing. But something shifted, small, subtle, human. He found himself listening to her stories about sketching strangers in cafes, about her fear of elevators, about the way she once got kicked out of a theme park for drawing caricatures too realistically. She laughed easily, spoke kindly, and didn't push him to be more than he was. When the check came, Marie reached for her purse. Let me get half, she offered. No, Daniel said immediately. Why not? Because my sister will interrogate me if I don't at least pretend to be a gentleman. Marie laughed again, not Elena's laugh. That difference, finally, felt like a gift. As they walked out of the restaurant, Daniel felt a strange mix of emotions, confusion, guilt, relief, and something that could maybe, possibly, someday become hope. Marie paused outside beneath the soft glow of streetlights. I had a good time, she said. You're easy to talk to. He hesitated. I did too. She gave him one last gentle smile. Maybe we can talk again? No pressure. Daniel didn't trust his voice, so he nodded. Good night, Daniel. Good night, Marie. She walked away. And for the first time in 3 years, Daniel didn't feel entirely alone in the world. He wasn't healed. He wasn't ready. But something inside him, something buried deep, had quietly opened its eyes. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He lay awake long after the house had fallen into its soft, comfortable silence. Liam was curled up in his bed with his favorite stuffed dinosaur. Door cracked open just enough for the hallway light to spill in. Daniel checked on him twice, maybe 3 times, just to ground himself in the one thing that still made sense. But every time he closed his eyes, Marie's face appeared behind him. Elena's face, and not Elena's face, both at once. His body couldn't decide whether to ache or settle. It wasn't that he hadn't known people resembled each other. Of course they did. But this was a mirror pulled from a world that shouldn't exist. A world where Elena lived, breathed, and poured chamomile tea into delicate white mugs. At 3:14 a.m., Daniel gave up pretending. He sat at the kitchen table with a cup of cold coffee, staring at the reflection in the dark window. He felt guilt gnaw at him. Guilt for noticing another woman. Guilt for comparing them. Guilt for wanting to hear Marie's laugh again. Guilt for wanting, for the first time in years, something more than survival. He didn't understand how one stranger could undo him so completely. When morning came, Liam shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. Daddy, you look squishy. Daniel blinked. Squishy? Yeah, like your face is melting. He laughed, a tire crack sound and ruffled Liam's hair. I'll try not to melt too much. Want waffles? Yes. Liam cheered, as if waffles were the answer to world peace. As Daniel cooked, the smell of batter and maple syrup filled the kitchen. Liam danced around the table humming off-key, and slowly, the sharp edges in Daniel's chest softened. His son had always been his anchor. After breakfast, while Liam drew superheroes on scrap paper, Daniel's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Marie, I hope I'm not being too forward, but I wanted to say thank you. Yesterday was nice. I know it wasn't easy for you. Daniel stared at the screen, thumb frozen above the keyboard. A breeze of warmth moved through him, gentle, careful, unexpected. He typed, erased, typed again. Daniel, you weren't too forward. And thank you. Last night was good for me, too. A moment later. Marie, good. I'm glad. If you ever want to talk again, I'm around. No pressure. I promise. No pressure. Those words felt like a hand extended but not pulling. An invitation, not a demand. Daniel didn't reply right away. He put down the phone and helped Liam find the crayons he had somehow managed to lose in plain sight. The rest of the day passed quietly. Chores, laundry, the occasional dinosaur roar from his son. But Marie's message sat in the back of his mind like a warm ember. 3 days passed before Daniel gathered the courage to message her again. He typed, Hey Marie, would you maybe want to grab coffee? I know a place near the park. Liam usually plays there after school. He hovered over the send button. His chest tightened. Then, click, the reply came 5 minutes later. Marie, I'd really like that. Just tell me when. They settled on Thursday. The weather that day was bright but crisp, the kind of afternoon that smelled like leaves and early winter. Liam ran ahead toward the playground, shouting triumphantly as if he had conquered new territory. Daniel waited by the bench, hands shoved deep in his pockets. Nerves churned in quiet circles inside him. Then he saw her. Marie approached from the sidewalk, hair caught lightly by the breeze, a soft scarf wrapped around her neck. She wore simple jeans, a dark coat, and the kind of smile that didn't feel borrowed from anyone else. For the first time, Daniel didn't see Elena when he looked at her. Not first. Not immediately. He saw Marie. Hi, she said, a little breathless from walking fast. Sorry if I'm late. I wasn't sure how long it would take to find parking. You're right on time. Her eyes drifted to playground. That must be Liam? Daniel followed her gaze. Liam was hanging upside down from the monkey bars like a bat. Yep, Daniel said with a sigh. That's my child. Marie laughed softly. He seems wonderful. He is. They ordered coffee from a small stand near the entrance. Daniel got black coffee. Marie ordered lavender milk tea, something Elena never would have touched. Marie made a face when she accidentally spilled a bit on her sleeve, muttering, Of course, in a self-mocking tone. Daniel found himself smiling. They sat on a bench while Liam built a stick fort nearby. Marie leaned forward slightly. Can I ask you something? You don't have to answer if it's too personal. Daniel nodded. Go ahead. When you saw me at the restaurant that first night, you looked like you'd seen a ghost. She paused. Was it because of her? Your wife. Daniel inhaled through his nose, slow and steady. He owed her honesty. You look like her, he said quietly. So much that it knocked the air out of me. Marie didn't flinch, didn't apologize, didn't laugh it off. She simply said, Thank you for trusting me with that. I can only imagine how painful that must have been. It wasn't just painful, he admitted. It was confusing. I didn't want to be overwhelmed by you. I didn't want to compare you to someone you've never met. It felt unfair. Marie's voice softened. But you're here now. Yes, Daniel said. And that meant something. Something real. They talked for nearly an hour, about small things, about nothing, about life. Marie told him about her latest forensic case. Daniel told her about the nightmare that was helping Liam with math homework. She laughed so hard at one of his stories that she snorted, then covered her face in embarrassment. Did you just snort? He teased. No, I didn't, she said immediately. That was an aggressive exhale. Daniel chuckled, and the sound felt new in his chest. Liam eventually ran over, dirt-covered, and proudly holding a crooked stick crown he had made. Marie bent down to his level. That is an excellent crown, Liam. He grinned. It's for my daddy, because he's the king of fixing things. Daniel's throat tightened unexpectedly. Marie looked up at him with something warm in her eyes. Not pity, not curiosity. Something like respect. Something like understanding. When the sun began to set, Marie stood from the bench reluctantly. I should get going. Daniel nodded. Yeah, I should get this little goblin home. I'm not a goblin. Liam protested. Marie smiled. You're right. You're far too cute to be a goblin. Liam preened proudly. They walked toward the parking lot together. When they reached her car, Marie hesitated. I had a really good time, she said. Me too, Daniel replied. A soft silence stretched between them. Then Marie reached into her coat pocket. I wasn't sure if I should give you this, she said, but I think you're ready. She handed him a small, folded note. Daniel opened it slowly. Inside, in neat handwriting, we can choose to be afraid of what might happen, or we can choose to be grateful for what we have right now. R. He looked up, confused. What's R? Marie smiled softly. It's a quote from a book I like. The author only signed their work with the initial R. No one knows who they are. I thought maybe it would help. Daniel stared at the words again. Fear or gratitude, past or present, ghosts or beginnings. He folded the note carefully and slipped it into his pocket. Thank you, he said quietly. Marie nodded. Good night, Daniel. Good night, Marie. He stood there long after her car disappeared around the corner. Liam tugged his sleeve. Daddy? Yeah, buddy? Your face isn't melting today. Daniel laughed, really laughed, and ruffled his son's hair. No, he said softly. I guess it's not. For the first time, the space inside him felt wide enough for memory and possibility to breathe together. Not fighting, not replacing, just coexisting. And somewhere in that fragile, hopeful space, Daniel felt the beginning of something he hadn't dared to feel in years. Something like healing,